Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show. Today, we will be showing you everything that you will need to use for this month's crafts.
Good evening, everybody. Happy Easter. Just want to give you a quick little announcement and heads up video for the upcoming month. I'm going to show you the craft supplies you'll need for the 4 crafts we'll do in addition to the dragon we'll be painting this month. Unfortunately, our Dungeons and Lasers 2 Kickstarter won't be here for probably another 2 weeks. So any of the dragons from that Kickstarter will have to wait until next month, which is okay because we have actually a really neat next month planned. Not saying this month isn't going to be stellar, but let's start off with
a very specific month's plan next time. It's the most specific we've ever done before, but
you want to start with the dragon or the craft supplies?
The craft supplies.
Okay. Right off the bat, our
No pot, but that's always.
Just about every month we use that stuff.
It's basically green stuff, but softer and stickier and inferior
and cheaper, cheaper and
more common,
easier to get, easier to find, and the 2 products have completely different uses in our experience.
Even though they seem like they'd be identical, but they're not.
This stuff is a little harder to make finer details, but it's good for what we're going to use it for. Next we have
paper clay, which is something we don't use that much, but when we do, paper clay.
You could substitute this for other clays or even just more milliput or.
But we think paper clay is better for this specifically because there's more of it.
And it's cheaper, it's lighter, and it doesn't hold as much detail. Again, even less than the milliput, but for one of the crafts we'll be using it. I don't want to say a lot, but if you can find some other clay you're happier to work with, grab it. But we like this stuff. Next,
basically anything that's somewhat light or not. Yeah, something that's somewhat light, cheap, and when you get it, there's a lot of it for a low price.
Next.
Something we've never used on the channel, but I will be excited to use, is
Fimo?
Well, I used to use Fimo, but I use other stuff now, but we just use this because we just use this package. Even though I'm probably going to be using a different brand.
Fimo or Sculpey?
Yeah, I use Sculpey now, but I used to use Fimo.
He's going to use that. I'm going to actually use something else for the same craft.
Yeah, but if you want to do what I do, if you are better with making like sculptures and stuff with less of already pre-existing materials, then this
stuff also holds its shape better. If you accidentally bump it, it's not going to dent it very easily.
Yeah.
It's denser, sturdier, and like you said, it's one of his favorite things to work with. It's actually probably
surprised we've never worked with it before.
It's probably the thing that got you started, isn't it?
Probably.
With sculpting and making.
I made things out of. I almost said super glue. I've been making things out of coconut clay ever since I was, 4?
Yeah, he's been using it for a very long time. He actually made, believe it or not, he made a Space Marine.
Wait, what?
You made a 28mm Space Marine. And he was like 3 or 4 years old. It was.
When was that?
Oh, it was a long time ago. Remember when you were making the War of the Monsters miniatures?
Oh.
And you made the big eyeball guy, and you made.
Oh.
Yeah. Next, one of our staples every month. We use one of these.
Something with lights. This is going to be the simplest light thing. A lot of people say lights are just gimmicky, but we don't think so. We think
if you can light something up, do it. Just knock yourself out, have a blast.
I mean, I do see where the people are coming from. However, the effect that you can get with a light, people just say, "Oh, just paint that effect," but you can't. It's not that simple.
And you're not going to get the same effect. You're really not.
As we've shown many times in our building dungeons video where we add lights.
It's just not the same.
Because when you want to paint a Dungeons and Lasers...
Did that go out on its own?
No.
You turned it off.
Yeah, okay.
And we will be using this color, the natural fiery orange looking as opposed to green or the multicolor. On to
Very simple thing. Logs.
basically sticks. You're going to want to find some...
Thick sticks.
No, actually, I'm going to have to chop these down down the middle and split them. Oh, you know what? I actually forgot something, but I'll get that in just a second. I'll have to make that the last thing while you're showing off the dragon. Just some wood sticks or twigs, something, you know, nice and round, not too bumpy, but...
One reason is because many companies actually sell piles of logs and sticks.
As an actual miniature. I think it's WizKids that does that.
Yeah, for like $5. It's around $5, I think.
Yeah, just for a miniature.
For this, which you can
Go in your backyard, front yard,
you can find
across the
these,
street.
take some rubber bands, pile them together, and you have the exact same thing.
On to the next one.
Rocks. It's
Not just any rocks. We get these rocks locally.
Natural, real rocks. We prefer the natural stuff.
You may be an excellent
fake.
painter, but you know it's not going to be perfectly rock colored unless you spend hours and hours and hours. But we're looking for brownish.
Also texture.
We're looking for brownish rocks because of the particular type of terrain we're going to do. You want something
around this color.
This
You
color.
don't want the traditional gray stone type of color.
This looks like the area we live in, and so does the
And
piece
that's
of
probably
terrain.
the reason why there's so many rocks that color. And if you don't live in a place with a bunch of rocks that color, well then find some. Because I don't think any ground has burgundy-ish rocks, but
If you want to go
You'll probably still find
the
them.
other route and use wood or styrofoam or something like that
you
and paint it
can,
up,
but
go for it. You know,
we prefer using the natural stuff.
any opportunity we can use natural ingredients, rocks, sand, twigs, even broken glass.
Well, broken glass isn't really natural.
Right, but we find it locally and then we use it, as opposed to, you know, I don't know, buying it. Okay, let's move on
Buying
to
glass and smashing it.
pop those in there.
Toothpicks. Another thing that's very common.
You're probably going to need about a half a dozen of them. You could use
I'd
more
recommend just buying like a pack.
if you've already got some.
I would recommend buying a bunch of them at once.
Well, you probably already
No.
have some. If you don't,
Most people have toothpicks
Yeah.
anyways.
you'll
Uh,
rubber or plastic animals. I'm going to be using a bat, a octopus, and a couple other weird creatures. But preferably,
goat.
preferably if you could find things like a bear, a wolf, birds. You're going to want some basic, generic, normal rubber or plastic actual animals.
Yeah. If you're gonna do it his way. Excuse me.
You're going to need
If
some
you're gonna
craft
do it my
sticks.
way, use the.
He's good. Well, let's not spoil it. You're gonna want to have some regular stir sticks
Yes.
and a couple popsicle sticks. You don't need to go out and buy a whole bag of them for this project. You probably need about, again, half a dozen of each kind. Unfortunately, we're running low, so we are going to stock up, as you saw from last month.
And we actually haven't been able to find any.
Yeah, we've been to about half a dozen stores now looking for the stir sticks. I might go to a coffee shop and just sneak out a couple of dozen when they're not looking, but I'll probably be able to find them this week now that
Yeah.
we know a couple of our stores were in the process of stocking up their materials.
Yeah, so that probably is going to be that. I don't know why I said that without a proper sentence. Oh,
You're going to want
grass.
your
Well,
basic static flock green.
And yes, I know we said just a while ago the natural stuff is better,
You're not going to...
but I don't think you can. I think this is sawdust.
Actually, I've been watching people who use green tea and some other things like parsley, dried parsley and things like that.
That could work, but
For what we want,
this is perfectly fine. It's easier. I know we said natural is better, but with this, I think this is one of the few things that I actually think that the stuff you buy at like craft stores and hobby stores is actually better than the
Yeah.
stuff you can just find.
yeah, it's like $5 for a huge bag, and it'll last you, you know, a year, a couple years, depending on how much you use it. One of the last things you're going to need is some XPS foam. You're going to want about a 6 by 6 inch square, depending on how many times you want to make the product, the craft project that we're going to do this month. I'm just using these leftovers from the lighthouse to show you. If you're not familiar with it, it's the pink construction foam that you can find in places like Lowe's and Home Depot, maybe
And
Ace
those-
Hardware.
Can you also find that in craft stores?
No, I wish you could. I wish personally I could find this more readily than we can. We've been using the same two sheets of this stuff that we got.
For a month now?
Yeah, we bought it actually like over a year ago.
But we didn't do anything with
We're
it.
finally getting around to use it, and we're being very sparingly with it. So
Well, he is.
yeah. So also something I didn't bring out to the table was good old fashioned either play sand, beach sand. You're going to want to have some just regular sand.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's coarse or rough.
And if you want to buy it, that's fine. We never do that. We just go to the beach or we go to the desert or.
Not really the desert. The desert has crap sand. It's irritating.
Couldn't resist, could you?
No, I couldn't.
Well, I go get the last craft item. Little guy is going to show you what dragon we will be doing this month.
Yes, we unboxed this quite a long time ago, but for a few reasons, mainly because we may or may not be running out of dragons to do.
Well, we won't next month.
Yeah, not next month, but I wanted to keep it as a dragon for as long as we could before moving on to non-dragons.
Right. Which means next year we're going to have to do the smaller dragons.
No, I don't think so. I think by next year we can probably, or by the time we're done with because I wanted to keep doing dragons until we got the
Dungeons- Dungeons and lasers.
Yeah, and then once we do all those, then we can do
The bigger monsters?
Then we'll probably start doing the non-dragons.
You want to take them out?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we unboxed him a long time ago, last year I think,
Yes.
during October I believe.
Yes.
Maybe not October, but around that time.
In case you can't tell, this is the Whiz Kids Pathfinder's Deep Cuts. I think it's a Deep Cuts.
Yeah, it is.
Gargantuan skeletal dragon. Just take the whole plastic part out.
Yeah. It's actually a white dragon. I can tell that because Spike, well, I don't think it had these spikes. I think it did. But mainly because of these fan things on the side of its head.
Yeah. But you could paint it up as,
Whatever type of dragon you want.
some other form of skeletal dragon. We're going to be pretty generic when we paint it so that it's not obviously a former blue dragon.
You mean white dragon?
Yeah, white dragon, sorry. And yes, this will be pretty much a quick paint job. There's not a lot of
I mean, if I painted it,
opportunity.
it would take like 2 episodes and maybe even 1 if it was long enough.
Yeah, but we're gonna try and overly complicate it to give you guys as much
As well
ideas as
as
possible on what you could do with this guy in the way of different shading and highlighting and things like that. But he's not kidding. This dragon could probably be painted to an acceptable standard in 2 hours, including
maybe
drying time.
if I painted it the way if I painted it this fastest way would only take as long as it would take to paint for the paint to dry. Like you paint the eyes and that's all that is. You paint the wings and then if you technically wanted to, you could just give the entire thing a wash of soft tone.
Yeah,
And then give the wings a wash.
I think because it's a little gray, looking to me, the soft tone wash might not actually be the best route. We might want to primer him in white just to.
Well, if we're obviously gonna give it some fang bone, which in my opinion is superior to the skeletal bone.
And the last craft item you're going to need
Is a very large square stick.
It was in the balsa wood section at Hobby Lobby, but I don't think it's actually balsa wood. It's really strong for balsa wood. Normally you could just snap this with your hands, but I believe it's roughly a 2-foot beam. It's roughly 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. You can go a little smaller.
I think that actually is the dimensions.
But you could go a little bit smaller. You really don't want to go much bigger, and you won't need the whole thing, so you'll have leftovers for other crafts. But that's it.
I think someone just put this in the wrong section.
Oh, maybe I misread the sign, or maybe there was a balsa wood section
It's definitely
and
not
a
balsa
pine
wood.
section or what have you. But
Yeah, balsa wood.
and you're going to need to cut this into smaller pieces. But for the most part, that's it for our craft ingredients and our updates for this month. Wish us luck with the Dungeons and Lasers shipping time.
Hopefully it gets here early.
And good luck to everybody else who's ordered from them and who's waiting patiently on this fantastic Kickstarter. We're really looking forward to the new rooms and the dragons, and especially all of the massive amount of stretch goals that will dress up your dungeons and all of your other scenery projects and gaming. There's, I think, close to 150 different individual pieces for the stretch goals, including some fantastic sci-fi things like the bridge and the laser bar prison cell, and just a ton of stuff. And we can't wait to
Is it bigger than the first one?
Oh yes, it's almost twice the size.
Oh. Also, we can't really we can't. I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I'm very excited for what the Kickstarter for Dungeons and Lasers 3 will be.
Yes,
But I have a feeling I know what the main stuff will be.
yes, and we probably won't be doing a video on the third Kickstarter until next month. But we're all pretty aware of what's coming with that, and we'll have some other videos for
Other
you.
than stretch goals and stuff, but even then we kind of know.
Yeah, it's mostly going to be townsfolk and a few assorted monsters. And we will have, our usual game reviews this month as
Except
well.
this time there's going to be more Siege of the Citadel, because that's something we're going to be doing.
Yes, we had a lot of fun playing that this weekend, and we're going to continue playing the heck out of it, because there are, I want to say, close to 50 different missions, and we've only played, 3?
Yeah.
So that's it for us tonight. Hope you guys had a wonderful Easter and a wonderful weekend. We will see you guys Tuesday with a review video. Hope you guys have a great week. Right?
Correct.
So, good night, everybody.
Good night.